Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. On this episode of CPR Ford Garage, it's even better than new project day. It is new truck day. Stay tuned. Okay, so before we get into all that, I have some errands to run and stuff, so I need to get a tag on the truck, get rid of this old man camper business. See this here? It had a pickup bed Lance camper in it, so that all of this was for that, to include these guys right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and zip all that stuff off, and then just, I know, this is, prepare yourself, okay? This was an old man pickup. There's also, so that has to go. And yeah, and also this. Okay, I'll give you a quick little walk around before we get into it. I have not even cleaned this yet or detailed it at all whatsoever. This is the elusive mint old man low mile pickup. It's a 2012 F250 Super Duty. 6.2 gas, 4-wheel drive, 6-speed torque shift automatic, tan interior, Oxford white. So here's a quick walk around. It's pretty blemish free, other than big old rock chip in the windshield. It needs a windshield. And unfortunately the chrome is peeling on these guys. And the other one, you can see towards the top, it's not peeling yet. I did already look. This is a Laverne grill guard, and I like it because it's super beef. It's not the typical flimsy one with the little brush guards on the side. This thing is 2-inch pipe and it is beefy. So I've looked into it, and you can get replacement uprights. So I'm gonna see if I can get those ordered today. But this is exactly how I bought it. Old man camper gear and all. You can see this thing is in excellent shape. It has the center console that flips up into a third seat, and you can see 46,782 miles. First things first, let's get these friggin' seat covers off and see what it looks like under there. This truck is definitely way too classy for camel. So yeah, if you're buying a used rig, you always want to look, because some people, like I said, they use these to protect. Then you're really protecting it for the next guy. I'm a firm believer in you use seat covers to cover stuff up. Oh, that's probably gonna have to come out. Okay, this might be more of a pain in the butt. Oh yeah. See, why would you look how pretty that is? Because you're an old man, and old men are the best people to buy vehicles from. Story, dude. Wow. Nice. 1000% improvement in here. Look at that. Other than some creases and wrinkles that'll come out. Look at that. That's so much nicer looking than that. But I think those are going to come off, and I'll find something else to put on there as a cover, because those kids I mean, they're like little savages, let's face it. What do you do? I mean, you beat them, but you know, does it really, what's this? Jack stuff? I don't know. So it's a super cab, which is cool because it's almost the exact same length as my Super Crew that I just got rid of, but it actually is a little bit shorter wheelbase. So it turns a little shorter. Let me see if I can, this one hand. So that still flips up. Could lay stuff across there when you don't have people in the back, you know, like toolboxes, rifle cases, things like that. Go to the gun store, buy more guns. Oh God. Let's just, she's gonna have to come out. What a bulbous head. Yep, freaking mint. You got little fuzzies and stuff on them from the seat covers, but pretty freaking mint. This is the main area you really want to check. And it does have that typical kind of wrinkling that they get, but just from being squished down, getting in and out. But a lot of times they'll wear through and the seam will bust apart right here just from dragging your big old butt across it when you get in and out. So that is good. Goodbye. Just doing a first oil change on this guy. So before I can't find the hood latch, before I shut it down, I'm gonna show you how to check tranny fluid because you want to do that warm. And then we're gonna get to changing the oil, and I'll show you what to look for when you're buying a used truck. So go ahead and pull it out. Take a look at it. You want it to be a nice bright pink. This takes, it says right on the dipstick. This takes Mercon LV, like Lima Victor, so it turns colors quite a bit faster than most other ones. This doesn't look too bad. It looks like it's about ready to be changed though, so we're actually gonna do that in a few thousand miles. But anyway, get a good look at it, wipe it off. Put it back in. And then check it. It looks like we're a little bit low. Dark fluid with an automatic, or especially if it's really dark and just smells burnt, like, you know, think of anything you've burnt, cookies in the oven, stuff on the grill. Does that burnt smell to it, it's real dark, that's a big red flag for me with an automatic transmission, because that usually means that death is coming pretty soon, and they are not cheap. So main things you're really looking for are accident damage that's been poorly repaired most of all, because if it's well repaired, you should not be able to notice it. Hold on a second, buddy. You're also looking for maintenance. How has it been maintained? How has it been maintained? And then repairs that need to be done, and basically shoddy aftermarket junk. So the engine bay is definitely dusty and dirty. Hello, bug graveyard. But it's not anything that's alarming. You want to look at all the fluids. You want to look at the engine for any scabby wiring repairs or any really obvious signs that the engine's been replaced. You also want to look for crash damage, because in here in the nooks and crannies a lot of times is where you'll find it. You'll find paint overspray, or you'll find rust on a spot where it's crinkly. And don't let this fool you, because on these Fords you can see the clear coat only goes to here. Ford does not clear coat the panels that aren't out in the sun. Just saving money, I guess. So like all this under here, none of this under here has clear coat. It's not really obvious on this white, but I had an Expedition that was blue metallic. I think it was medium Wedgwood blue, and it was really noticeable under the hood that it was a different tone just because of no clear coat. Another thing you really want to check is you want to take your oil fill cap off. You want to check for a bunch of moisture on the underneath of it, and that could be water in the oil like a blown head gasket, and it could just be a lot of stop and go short trip driving, because the moisture doesn't get boiled out of the oil if the engine doesn't get up to temperature enough. Another thing on modern vehicles, older stuff always had a baffle in here so you couldn't really see, but on newer stuff you can really see down into the engine a little bit through the oil fill cap. So I always take a good look in there, and what you're looking for is kind of what you see on the head of that bolt. There's like some oil varnish that's collected in that recess of the head of the bolt. That I'm not worried about, but if you see like dark caramel, dark brown stuff that looks like that all over inside of there, that's a red flag. Another thing is if you can see sludge, you can kind of see the inside of the front of the timing cover in there. Let's see if I can get this in there a little better. Where it's just really light brown tarnished aluminum. If that's real dark and coked up oil and sludgy, that's a big red flag too. So, and you're looking for any leaks, external leaks, broken stuff like that. You also want to take a look at your coolant, and if it's cool enough, you want to pop the cap. You can see that it's full, and this is the Ford changed colors a lot. This is the orangey pink stuff. I don't know. It says check the manual is what it says. I don't know. Take a look down in there and look for like dirty, sooty stuff, an oily sheen on the top, because that can indicate head gasket stuff. You want to take a little sniff of it too, because you get to know what all these things smell like, and then you know when something's not right. Look at that. God. Heart of a raptor, baby. So just look around really good, and it's not anything particular you're looking for. A lot of times when stuff is in a wreck, little miscellaneous parts like this cable, part of this grill panel, stuff like that, there'll be little broken spots, overspray. So you just look down in all of these really good and along all the edges for overspray on stuff, and just parts that look new, stuff that looks like it's been messed with. Looking for oil leaks, looking for cracks in exhaust manifolds, frame damage. You can see the frame down there on these trucks. You're just looking for stuff that doesn't look right. And then something else you want to check is the air filter for a few things. So that looks pretty dang good. That looks like it was just changed not too long ago. The guy used to see if we can see the light through it. The guy took this to like an oil change place regularly, so I'm guessing they have sold him an oil filter. You want to look down in here for any evidence of mice if it's something that's been sitting a long time. Any kind of oily, greasy deposits, because probably not on this. I don't think they do that anymore. Most older vehicles though, the crankcase breather stuff was plumbed right into the airbox, especially like mid-90s Fords. And if you had like a lot of blow-by or something like that, it would just fill the air filter with oil. A Carfax is always a good idea, but they don't always tell you everything. I've had 2 vehicles that when I tore into them had been wrecked and the Carfax came back clean. I've also had a vehicle, actually 2 vehicles, that had been wrecked while I owned them, and I know for sure they were turned into insurance, and they still showed clean. So your own eyeballs and fingers and ears and your 5 senses are the best thing that you have to protect you when you're buying a used vehicle. I always pre-fill the filters, especially on this one. It mounts totally vertically. You want to put a little oil on the O-ring too so that it doesn't stick the next time when you go to change the oil. But on one that sits vertical like this, I'll fill it as much as I can. That way it doesn't run dry for a second when you're starting it up before it pumps up with oil. I obviously did all of this already when I looked at the truck before I bought it, but I didn't take the camera along and show you then. Basically, one thing that inspired me to make this video was the gentleman I bought the truck from saw me doing some of these things and kind of asked me about it. You know, why are you doing this? Why are you taking off the oil cap and looking in there? And that gave me the idea to make this video. So I always have like a little pocket flashlight. This is a pretty bright sucker, little LED light. It's pretty bright. And to do this right, you're gonna have to get underneath there. So another good place to look for overspray is like on springs, on the frame, under here, the fender liners, stuff like that, all around underneath. To give it a good inspection, you're gonna have to get underneath it, and you're not gonna have a creeper with you, so you're gonna have to roll around on the ground. As you can see, this is a pretty fresh unit. It is legit old school manual 4-wheel drive. And when the guy said, the hubs are just free and lock, I was like, no. One is auto and one is lock. Because then if the hubs, the vacuum actuated hubs fail, you can still lock them in. I didn't believe him, but sure as crap, look at that. Free and lock. This thing was ordered kind of weird. So look around in all your fender wells too, the places where if people were lazy, there would be overspray. You know, look for any rusty spots on the frame or fresh metal. You're just looking for anything that looks out of the ordinary. You want to look all over. You can see the engine a little bit through the fender well. Look in there. Another thing, you can look at brakes through the wheel, see the rotor, whether it's all gouged or not, and you can usually look at the pads and see kind of how thick they are if you really look down in there. So do that on all 4 corners. Look at the tires, look if they're wearing funny at all. Should be even wear all the way across. Go ahead and look at the back brakes in here. Looking pretty good. Inside of the bed on trucks is a big telltale on how they've been used, and this thing is mint. And I probably paid a little too much for this, more than I really wanted to, but after looking at several clapped out ones with a bunch of miles, I decided to just shut up and pay the money for this one. So what I'm looking at is the brake pad, which is that guy the farthest down in there, inside of that notch. And I look way over there on the side. It's hard to see it on video, but way over there where there's a gap between the metal plate and the rotor, that tells you kind of how much pad you have left. But anyway, I paid a little bit more than I wanted, but one of my goals was to get a truck that had less than 50,000 miles. And there you go. I've put probably 800 or 900 miles on it already. And you know what? There so far has not been a gas mileage penalty over my 2005 F250 Super Crew. This actually, doing mixed driving, seems to do about 1 mile per gallon or so better. And I think that's because it might be, I think it's pretty close on the weight to my 150. But I'll show you, this thing is just mint. And this is why I wanted to get a low mile truck. I wasn't crazy about the Super Cab, but after owning it for about a month and a half, it's really not a problem. Of course, my kids are small and they're the only ones that ride back there, so I've been told that you do not want to put an adult in the back of these, like on a trip, because it's just cruel. But I'll get these open and we'll go ahead and get these back seat covers off and have a look under there, and then we'll get underneath and show you what to look for under there. Okay, I was gonna leave these because my kids are kind of filthy animals. This is where they ride, but I just can't abide crapping up this beautiful low mileage interior. Ew, is that? Ew. Somebody's hair? Nice. Oh, real nice. Oh, hey, how about? Well, that just, I thought that was kind of ill-fitting at the top. Yeah, look at that. It just comes right on out of there. Yep, just settle it right down. So there you go. I really should have done that before I bought it. You know, you don't want to be rude though, so it's always a... There you go. Mint. Okay, so to do this properly, you're gonna have to get under there. Don't worry about that. We just got done changing oil. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. Boy, I don't know if I can. Again, we're just, really looking for obvious crash damage and leaks. Front differential, you want to look at the cover, you want to look at the ends over here, both ends of the drive axle, and that's pretty just general for any kind of vehicle. Look at the front of the oil pan and bottom of the engine for leaks and greasiness, and look around the sides. Now you can get a look from the inside too on the brakes, so let's go around the back. Okay, so you can look for overspray, all the frame and suspension, and then you can get a better look at the brakes right in here if you can get your head up in there and take a look. These are greasy. I noticed these are greasable U-joints. I don't know if they were from the factory or not, but that's all greasy from somebody greasing it. You want to look at your front pinion for any leaks. You can also kind of turn on that, make sure it's free. If it's in two-wheel drive, it should be. And you want to make sure there's no up and down play. Look at our axle tube, bottom side of the oil pan. You want to, it's normal for it to be a little it's normal for it to be a little greasy around the plug from just changing oil. You can see it is there. I've just changed the oil. You want to look at the bottom of the transmission bell housing. Boy, this is really hard to film under here. You want to look around the transmission pan here. Okay, going back to the transfer case. It's pretty cramped under here. Look at all these suspension parts, make sure nothing's bent. A big indicator, like I said, a big indicator is a rusty line just out here for no reason. When stuff creases and bends, it flakes the paint off and then it'll rust there. This is just normal surface rust along the bottom where that weld seam is. Pretty normal. I like what I see. Another good place to look. So right up under here, this is the floorboards right up under the step. If it's been somewhere with a lot of salt, this is one of the first places that'll start to rust out. So just looking for rust and damage and shady repairs. Gas tanks aren't very interesting to look at. Okay, and then transfer case here. Just like the front axle, you're looking around here for greasiness and any play in that shaft, and then where the front drive shaft comes out as well. Looking at the exhaust just for anything that's real sketchy and scabby. A truck with this low miles should not have had really anything replaced except for the oil at this point and tires. Here's the other side, looks really good. And then going to the back, you may not think you need to worry about it on a truck this new, but I actually looked at several of these, and when I crawled underneath, for one, the shocks were blown. That's another thing to look at on your shock absorbers. If you've got greasiness all down here, this upper part's just a dust shield, that means they're leaking oil. There's a seal right in there on the inside, and they will not do their job. One of the trucks I looked at actually had, this was all greasy because the pinion seal right in there was leaking. That's not a terrible job to do, but it's not that fun either. So also looking up in here, you just want to look for all the places that sins would hide. You know, if somebody repaints it and does a crappy job masking it off, where are they gonna miss? Look for bent or broken leaf springs, and then you can get in here and kind of get a look at your brakes from the back side as well. See what those look like. Now I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can see myself maybe. I'm gonna go ahead and check all the fluids down here, because I do that at every oil change. I check front and rear differential and the transfer case. If you're looking at a truck to buy, obviously you're not gonna be doing that out in the parking lot, but that's really most of the stuff that I can think of, like on a quick once over when you're just looking at a vehicle. So hopefully that helps you out. Like I said, I was inspired by the guy that I bought this truck from. He saw me doing a couple things and he's like, why do you do that? And then he later told me he got rid of this truck because he wants a Power Stroke, because he's upping his camper game. And he later told me, he's like, yeah, I went and looked at a couple trucks after that, and I did that same thing, and like he had found sludge, you know, when he took the oil cap off. Which diesels, I told him, do get the oil dirtier than a gas engine, so that might not be something to worry about too much. But anyway, I'll finish down here and then we'll get this thing out and I'll show it to you. If you are not confident doing that kind of inspection yourself, definitely think about taking a used vehicle to a competent mechanic. A lot of times if you take your vehicles to a certain shop all the time for repair, they'll just do it for free. Other places might charge 20 or 30 bucks. It's definitely worth it if you don't have the skills, because used cars can be just a whole bundle of surprises in a way that's not good. My brown F250 Super Crew that I just got rid of, great, oh shit, deer. Yep, horns do work on deer. It's deer season in Montana. Anyway, that truck I'm pretty sure had some kind of sketchy spark plug repair issue. Plugs break off in those, but I think something happened to that number 5 cylinder and they basically just kind of band-aided it and put it down the road for sale, because it had just had plugs in it when I got it, and that cylinder just kind of ate itself. But I love the truck so far. To me, it's like, I don't know if you are familiar with the old body style trucks, the 92 to 96. F-Series pickups. I've had quite a few of those, and I've definitely had time in the Super Cab 4-wheel drive variety with a 460. This truck reminds me a lot of it. In fact, looking out the mirror as I go down the road, that body line reminds me of that truck so much every time I look out the mirror, one of those old body style trucks. Anyway, to me this truck is like one of those trucks, but better in every way. It gets better mileage, it has more power, it has more towing capacity, just better, more horsepower, more torque. It's better in every way. So if you like old body style trucks, get you one of these, you will love it. I also do not regret getting the Super Cab at all. As little as my kids are, it's not an issue. And I'll just say on the diesel thing, for me, it was a no-brainer to go with this truck because I just do not need a diesel. And I feel like a lot of people these days feel like you have to have a diesel to tow. I know they're super popular for a good reason, but unless you are towing for a living, towing more than 50 or 60% of the time you drive the truck, or towing real heavy regularly, like over 14,000 pounds, or over even 12 or 13,000 pounds pretty regularly, you do not need a diesel, and neither do I. This truck probably would have been about $6,000 more as a used truck if it was a diesel. And then there's, yeah, they get better mileage, they sure do, diesels. But then there's also all the maintenance that goes along with it. Just figure a good rule of thumb is anything on a diesel is gonna cost about 3 times as much as it would on a gas engine. So I am impressed with this 6.2 gas. I haven't towed with it yet. That's coming up soon, hopefully. It makes about 385 horsepower and about 410, 411 pound-feet of torque. And it just, I like this truck a lot. Don't regret buying it at all. So that's my 2 cents on why I don't need a diesel and maybe why you don't need to. So thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you want to see some more stuff on this truck. I don't have big plans for it. Something like catback exhaust, a little bit of detailing, especially under the hood. It's pretty dusty and a little grimy under there. And I want to two-tone it. Plain white is just too plain for me. I need to get some new side steps. I want to get the grill guard that's on here powder coated because the chrome is starting to peel. So little stuff like that. If you want to see stuff like that, let me know. It does need a transmission service pretty soon here too. I'm going to do that at 50,000 miles. So let me know in the comments if you want to see that kind of stuff. I will leave you with, I'm heading out into the countryside, and I will just do a quick walk around. Oh yeah, it needs a windshield too. I'm heading out in the hills here just to do a quick walk around at sunset. It's a little darker, a little earlier because of all the dang smoke. Stop sending your trash over here, California. Six and 3/4 foot bed. If I didn't mention, that's what they call the short bed. It's a little bit longer than a regular Ford short bed.